How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. This is a jam-packed video here today. We have Tether dropping bombshells about Bitcoin. We have really important data that's coming in right now as we speak. We have to look at the S&P 500 companies too that have reported earnings, a lot of them beating expectations, and massive buys right now, and some other big news as well. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this. If you want to trade crypto, there's a link to Blowfin underneath the video. There's some links as well to some other exchanges down there. This is one of the platforms that have significant positions, and you can see that we've made pretty life-changing gains, 700%, 630. We have one position that's in the red, just slightly on Sui, about 3.5%. But if you want to trade, you can check out the link to Blowfin. Make sure you know what you're doing. Yesterday, I actually made a video on how to reduce the chances of liquidation, so you can go watch that video as well. That's the biggest risk in leverage trading, but you can get huge returns if you know what you're doing. Now, also, we're producing full videos over on the Patreon. There are limited spots. I think we had a couple people sign up yesterday. So we have, 11 spots remaining in the beginner tier. If you want to join the Patreon, we're doing more AMAs here in the near future. And I have a video that's going out tomorrow or Sunday just for the Patreon. We also answer questions all the time in there. So definitely check that out. If you have questions, now's the time to put up a little bit of money so that you can get massive returns during this bull run and so that you don't make common mistakes. PCE, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, just came in. It came in at expectations. 0.3% month over month. The expectation was 0.3%. Last month, it was at 0.1%. PCE came in at 2.6% year over year. The expectation was 2.6%. Core came in at 2.8 versus the expectation of 2.8 versus last month, which is 2.8. Like I said, this is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. And some people are going to take this negatively, saying that this is the highest that we've been on PCE in a very long time, in a year. I saw something like that. But when you just zoom out, you can see the core, which is what the Fed really likes to look at because it strips out the volatile food and energy. You can see it's been at 2.8 for the last 3 months. It started to tick up a little bit from 2.6, right? That was the bottom, 2.6. And it's ticked up to 2.8 and then stayed stagnant at 2.8 for 3 months. I don't think this is bad news. I think this will kind of just be a nothing burger. You can see Bitcoin falling down a little bit on this news, but Bitcoin also reacts before the traditional markets. It might just be kind of a gut reaction where people are like, let's take a little bit of profit out, but I'm not too concerned. You can see actually 81% of S&P 500 companies that have reported so far for last quarter have beat earnings estimates. That's according to Macro Micro. And if I go here to Advantage FactSet, they have a very similar number with only 16% of companies reporting results so far. And this is from a week ago, so it's changed a little bit. They say 80% of S&P 500 companies have reported a positive EPS surprise, and 62% have reported a positive revenue surprise. So these companies are beating expectations. The economy is solid. Unemployment rate is quite low. And keep in mind, next week we actually have some unemployment numbers coming through. I think the market's more worried about that even than inflation at this point because the last few inflation readings have been fine. So if we get a good employment reading next week, that will be very good for the stock market, for crypto as well. Obviously, inflation plays a big role too. I shouldn't belittle it in that way, but the fact is the economy is good. Companies are doing well. People have money. Inflation is relatively low. Jerome Powell said we do not need to get 2% inflation to lower rates. So I think we're just fine. Now flipping over to crypto specific, MicroStrategy will have up to $584 million to buy Bitcoin after its preferred stock offering was oversubscribed by nearly 3x, increasing from 2.5 million shares to 7.3 million shares. This is the preferred stock that pays 8% dividends. There's a lot of demand for this product, right? Basically a call option on MicroStrategy that also pays a dividend. It's really fascinating. It's an interesting way to get exposure. And they're not the only ones that are trying to get in on Bitcoin. Like, there's a lot of demand for Bitcoin products in general. We just got a new Bitcoin and crypto product, which I'll talk about here in a second. But we have more and more states that are becoming Bitcoin states. We have North Dakota now producing a bill that will protect the right to mine, right to self-custody, right to peer-to-peer transactions, and right to run a node. This is the 18th state. Keep in mind, we're almost at the halfway point where over half the states have introduced something to protect Bitcoin rights or to buy Bitcoin. Just fascinating. We have new ETFs popping up. The SEC approved a Bitwise combined Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. I didn't see the breakdown of this ETF, but pretty interesting. I'm guessing we'll probably have some decent numbers on this as well. Keep in mind, there are already Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs. So anyone that's really wanted exposure so far has probably already gotten it or is trying to get approval for it. They don't necessarily need this combined ETF, but it might make things a little bit simpler. Just my initial thoughts are some people will want this. I kind of like to have them separate, so that way if if I want to trim one position, let's say Ethereum runs really hard or Bitcoin runs really hard and I want to sell a little bit, I don't have to sell the other asset. But some people just want it a little bit easier. They just want to get access to crypto. They trust Bitwise more than themselves to rebalance. Okay, the Bitcoin ETFs had a big day yesterday. The Grayscale Mini barely had anything. EasyBC barely had anything flowing in. ARKB barely had anything. Let's get down to the big boys. FBTC, $209 million inflow. IBIT, 3,047 Bitcoin inflow. So 322 million. So it was another huge day for the ETFs, $588 million. And when you just zoom out, look at the last 10, 12 trading days. $750 million, $2/3 billion, over $1 billion, 800 million, $250 million. I'm flipping between different numbers there, but just massive buys. Like we're talking hundreds of millions to $1 billion a day. Then we had one outflow, then slow inflows again, up to $500 million again yesterday. Like there's so much demand from these institutions, and I think part of that is the SEC flipped more pro crypto, the presidency flipped pro crypto. President is buying crypto right now. Like just yesterday, they bought another $10 million of Ethereum. It's just crazy. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but look at this news. This is the bombshell from Tether. Tether brings USDT to Bitcoin's Lightning Network, ushering in a new era of unstoppable technology. So Tether, the largest company in the digital assets industry, announced the integration of USDT into Bitcoin's ecosystem, including both its base layer and the Lightning Network, supported by a Taproot-powered protocol, Taproot Assets, and developed by Lightning Labs. Once fully integrated, USDT will operate seamlessly on Bitcoin's base layer and its Layer 2 Lightning Network. This will enable high-speed, low-cost transactions while combining Bitcoin's robust security and scalability with USDT, the largest stablecoin, serving already over 350 million different users and developers. Okay, this is a big deal. This is bringing the stability of stablecoins, the price stability to the biggest, most decentralized network in the world. This is pretty exciting. A lot of people are going to be using this. Bitcoiners are loving it. Rajit Soni, who is I think a self-proclaimed Bitcoin maxi, says this is huge. US dollar stablecoins are coming to the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Tether is not going to collapse. USDT is going to get a lot bigger. Now, why is this a big deal? Again, well, there are some people that want the security of the Bitcoin network. There's just more computing power. They feel more comfortable with it. But they don't want to pay really high fees, so they can use something like the Lightning Network, which fractions of a penny for a transaction. And maybe they don't want to transact in Bitcoin, right? If you're someone that doesn't have a lot of wiggle room, right? You're sending money back and forth between different countries. And maybe you just don't have a lot of wiggle room in price. If Bitcoin goes down 10%, well, then your kids eat 10% less. So some people just want a stable coin and they'll be able to use it now, and they won't have to use, what are the pay services, the remittance services that charge significant fees. Instead, they can just use Tether. I actually use crypto a lot in my daily life. I make probably a couple transactions a day for different payments. And this is just so much smoother than anything else, right? It's just really simple, fast, smooth, and cheap. So I think this is a big deal. I think this will get a lot of use over time as well, and more money will be transacted on the Bitcoin network. More money will go to miners and stuff like that. So it will be good for everyone, I think. ETH is breaking out. Look at this. This is on the ETH USD chart, not ETH Bitcoin. That continues to go down and to the right. But you can see we got rejected by this downsloping resistance 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and now we're breaking out above it. I woke up and I saw Ethereum at like 3,200. Helped the baby get cleaned up, changed the diaper, and then the next time I woke up like an hour or two later, the market hadn't moved, but Ethereum was up another $100, and I thought that's kind of odd. And it's because it broke through this previous resistance. Now, I don't know if it's going to continue moving up, but this is a very similar chart to what we've seen with XRP, with Solana, where it breaks out, and then those other assets have come back down, retested, and then bounced. Maybe we'll see something similar on ETH. So yeah, we could see a little bit of outperformance, and then if it takes a dip, I wouldn't be super concerned as long as it bounces off this trend line. Then we'll probably see a nice low move there. And I mentioned Trump was buying Ethereum. This is from yesterday. He bought $10 million worth of Ethereum yesterday. And as I'm recording this, he just bought another $10 million of Ethereum. Like, they are continuously stacking. I know some people were pissed off that they didn't buy Bitcoin day one. But this is something that they have direct ownership of. They directly benefit from, profit from. And this is just relentless. Like, they're doing multi-million dollar transactions every single day. So yeah, look at what they're doing, not what they're saying, or just look at both, because Trump is saying that they're going to create a lot of value for crypto. And right now they're buying a lot of crypto. So look at both of the things. He's saying one thing, and his actions also are showing that he means what he says. Well, there you go. You should be bullish on crypto. And the fact is, too, like, I don't think we're close to the all-time high. I think we're still going to go much higher, in my opinion. Part of that is just the risk indicators are still pretty low. I've got to discount the social metrics because they have not spiked up recently. I mean, I'm seeing more views on YouTube, but besides that, like, social metrics just are not overheating this cycle. On-chain metrics are getting a little bit spicy. You can see here. Let's scroll here to color-coded. And you can see that we're starting to get a little bit yellow, but we're not anywhere close to red. So like the risk metrics, which include Peel multiple, MVRV, Z-score, transaction fees, terminal price, MCTC, and supply, P&L, all this kind of stuff, right? It's not getting overheated like it has in the past. Price metrics, let's look at that. And this is into the Cryptoverse. If you guys want to check it out, there's a link underneath the video, and it's got a 10% off code when you use that link. The price metrics, which include market cap risk, Bitcoin regression, Cohen corridor, fear and greed, running ROI, like you can turn some of these off too if you want. It's nowhere close to all-time highs. It's nowhere close to where we typically see it top out around 0.9 to 1 on the risk scale. The most we've gone to was 0.61 or 0.63. And right now we're at 0.55. So I still don't think we're at the all-time high. I think we're going to have some kind of really explosive move at some point. But it's just taking a little bit of time. So maybe a decent time to accumulate if you're looking for the long term. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video, though. Again, if you want to trade crypto, you can check out the link to Blowfin. They have some sweet deposit bonuses as well when you use my link. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next one.